Do you want to learn how to make these drums sound like this? Without even using different samples? Stay tuned and I will show you exactly how you can transform your samples into different sounds. So let's go! Today's video is a follow-up of this other video. In this one, I will show you some techniques and effects to transform a percussive sound into another, so you can create your own unique samples from existing samples. Of course, if you like this tutorial, subscribe to the channel and also give this video a like. For this I will be using sounds from the MADPACK sample pack from Beast Samples, which was kindly sent by them for me to use on this video. And it's really kind, because I'm literally going to destroy it. There's nothing wrong with this sample pack, but it's great for more laid-back beats, something more softer and chill. And I need something more aggressive. So I just chose a kick, a snare, and a hi-hat. And together they sound like this. Which is again soft in a good way, but I want to destroy them, so let's start processing. The snares were the most complex one to transform, from this to this. The first thing I did was using an EQ and a compressor. The EQ is to enhance the frequencies that I wanted. In this case, I wanted to enhance the fundamental, get rid a little bit of the boxy part, and add some transient and some air to the sound. And the compressor is to make it more punchier. We are also cleaning up a bit of the sound. This is really subtle, but it's giving me the starting point to start processing further. And now comes the fun part. So the next step was a little bit more complex because it implies making a bus for parallel processing. Here in Bitwig and also in Ableton, you can use an effects layer. In the layer 1, I have the dry sound, and in the layer 2, I have the processing that I want to make. Then I just blend them together. The first step is to take a transient shaper and take off all of the attack and increase all of the release, because we want to use the tail without adding more punchiness to the main snare. So blended sounds like this. Which makes it a little bit longer, but is still too short, because the original sound was too short. So how can you make like a fake tail with a simple reverb? The idea behind this reverb is that it needs to be really short, so it doesn't act like a spacious effect, and it blends better with the sound of the snare. Now we got something like this. But it's still feeling a little bit like an spacious reverb. So what I did was to add another compressor, so we glue the tail with the original sound and make them be part of a unique sound. That way the tail is a little bit louder, but it's enough to make it fit better with the original sound. Also, I cannot forget to mention that I took off all the width of the reverb, so again it doesn't feel like I'm putting the snare on a room, and it's more like the tail of the sound. So it's sounding really different, but I wasn't satisfied. I wanted to make the snare fatter, and for that I applied another parallel technique, this time courtesy of Dan Worrell. So again, for parallel we have an effect layer, and the idea is that in the parallel process we use a bandpass EQ. This EQ is on 12 dB per octave, this is really important, and it's on a really high Q. Then I'm using auto gain and putting the output level a little bit lower so it doesn't blast my speakers. And of course you have to put this band on the fundamental of the sound. On its own sounds like this, but blended with the rest sounds like this. Of Of course, there's a lot to cover about this process on itself, but for that I'm going to link the video of Dan Worrell because he explains it a lot better than me. And seriously, you have to watch his videos. They are crazy educational and good. Now the last thing I added is an instance of RBass, which is a really popular plugin to add subharmonics to a sound. I put it around the fundamental and it gives even more body. For the kick, I used less processing but still wanted to change some stuff. For instance, if you look at it on Spectrum Analyzer, you'll see that the body, the fundamental, is at 80 Hz. Even a bit higher. I wanted to lower it. And yes, you can lower it. But again, you need to use something like RBass. RBass is almost like an industry standard. I'm sure you have seen plenty of producers and mixing engineers using it. But if you don't want to use it, if you don't want to pay for it, if you dislike waves, whatever you want, there's a free alternative that I really like, and it's called Low End by Analog Obsession. Let's hear the difference. They sound pretty different but has similar results. To tell you the truth, I'm liking better, in this case, Low End, so long RBass. And that's my starting point to begin with the usual suspects, EQ and compression. Again, the EQ is to enhance the fundamental and add a little bit of attack and get rid a little bit of the boxiness of the sound. And the compressor was to control the sound and shape it into a more punchy kind of kick. And finally, again, I'm using the Dan Worrell parallel bandpass filter technique. Go check his video! And because not everything is kick and snare, let's change the nature of these hi-hats. This one is easier. If you want brighter hi-hats, you just have to EQ the out of them. I'm cutting everything below 1K, I'm adding a lot of air, and I'm even adding a little bit of this area, which for me was more transient than the rest. To add more character, a little bit of body, and even more high-end without harshness to a hi-hat, you can always use a saturation plugin. And finally, I added a compressor not only to make it more focused, but also almost like a transient designer to add more, well, transient to the sound. Now with this step you need to be careful. I keep a really open attack, that is a slow attack, so I don't get rid of the transient, but I'm using a longer release because if you use a really fast release, you will get rid of the groove. As you listen, there's one hit stronger than the other. With the fast release, we get rid of that. And sounds too fake for my taste. So now we have our drum with different sound. As a last step, processing the drums as a whole. This is something more about mixing, but it also will give your drums more character, it will glue the elements together, and will make it feel even bigger and fatter. For that, I'm using just a compressor to control better the transients. And my current favorite saturation plugin, which is this emulation of the Volter Culture by Arturia. It makes the drums dirtier, more aggressive, and adds a lot of character to them. And there you have it. You just add a cool bass to it, and you have the start of a nice song using unique samples made by yourself. Again, thank you so much to Beast Samples for providing the sounds for this video. Now, a full disclosure, they did send the samples, but they have no say on the content of this video. They even didn't watch it before it's released. So anything that I say here is my own opinion. Despite that, Beast Samples were also kind enough to offer a coupon code for all my viewers. So as always, it's up to you if you like the sound or not. Go check the MADPACK, and if you end up liking it, you can get a nice discount with the code that is on the description of this video. I hope after watching this you have more confidence to really change any sound that you have and you start making your own unique samples. And that's it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care and I will see you next time. Bye bye.